Welcome to this class. We're going to discuss about employment and contract. So employment contract is just like any other law, and in this case it is a binding agreement between the employee and the employer. So in any place of work, there should be an agreement between the two parties, or else we are going to face some challenges concerning an employee. And in this case, when forming any kind of a contract, there must be some other essential elements required. Like in this case, there must be what you call an offer, and there must be what you call an acceptance. So in this case, the employer is the person now offering the job, and the employee is the person accepting the job. So after meeting the minimum requirements, in this case, from the recruitment and selection procedures, then you're supposed to have them in a binding agreement. Because if you don't have an agreement, it means to some extent, if someone goes against or breach the terms of the contract, then another person could not go to any other place for any kind of an assistance. And remember, in labor and industrial law, whenever we are having any kind of a dispute or differences between the two parties, that is the employer and the employee, the only place you can go is the industrial court and not the ordinary courts that we always have. We also need to understand what should be included in the employment contract, because we've said it is an agreement, a binding agreement, just a legal agreement. So there must be things that should be included in this kind of employment, and the most and the obvious one is the salary or the wages. So this must be captured in that kind of a contract that you are entering, the two of you. Then another thing is the schedule. Schedule is just like the duration of hours that you're supposed to spend in the workplace. You can agree, like in Kenya, the standard time that people should work is 8 hours. And therefore, if it is beyond 8 hours, what are you supposed to do? Maybe after 8 hours, you're supposed to be given an extra amount or just a commission. And in this case, in that kind of a contract, there must be the number of hours someone is working. Then you also have duration of the employment. Now, duration of the employment depends on the contract that you're going to enter. If it is permanent and pensionable, it means you're going to retire. And if that is not the case, then that kind of a duration must be stipulated. And in most cases, the short contracts may be always 2 years or even less than 2 years. We also have general responsibilities. And in the previous module, you did something to do with job descriptions and job specifications. And therefore, also in that kind of a contract of yours, they must have to capture what you call the general responsibilities. What is your responsibility as an employee in that kind of an organization or the institution you're working in at? We also have confidentiality. Any information pertaining the employee and the employer should always be confined to the office of the HR. And in this case, if it happens that information pertaining to an employee is leaked out, then the reliable office should always be the office of the HR. And that is why we say that the office of the human resource management should always have the confidential documents for each and every employee. We also have the communication. And the communication should not be done anyhow. There must be that kind of a procedure or the hierarchy, or whoever is supposed to pass information to the rest of the people working in an organization. And in this case, it should be from the CEO of the company, or basically it should be from the human resource management office. And the last one is future competition. At times, we find that employees can be separated in an organization due to some other reasons, and therefore, in this case, if this happens, it means you're not supposed to carry out a competing business, and this is what we are referring to as NCC, non-competing competition clause, that always have to prevent the other person or the preceding employer from the competition that the employee is going to undertake, because this person might be having the secrets of the firm or the organization, and therefore if it happens that this person takes out the information, then he or she is going to be a great competitor of yours, and therefore we would say that these also need to be captured in the employment contract. What are the pros or what are the advantages of having the employment contract in place? In this case, it is supposed to give us clear duties of an employee. Like, what are you supposed to be doing? If you are a trainer, then you're supposed to be a trainer. If you are an HR person, you're supposed to perform the activities of the HR. If you're the principal, you're supposed to perform the activities of the principal. If you're the accountant, the same. If you're the cleaner or the support staff, the same thing should happen in this case. Also, need to protect each party. The parties that we are talking about here is the employee and the employer. So that we don't have a situation whereby one of the parties is going to take advantage of another person. And lastly, it provides a stability in the organization, because the contract always gives us a clear view of exactly what you're supposed to be doing in an organization. And therefore, it is going to provide stability in this way. Like, we're not going to have the strikes or cause law in an organization. And if that is the case, then you must have to write a notice that you are going to strike after a period of time, which is always 21 days, as stipulated in the Constitution. Like, for any kind of a strike to be legal, then you must have to serve enough notice. Then we have a cons of the same employment contract. One is going to limit flexibility. And in this case, it is going to give us some kind of restrictions in what we're supposed to do. And therefore, an activity that does not concern you, you're not supposed to do it. Even if you have the ability to do it, then that should not be the case. We can still talk about legal binding. In this case, the two parties cannot have to misbehave, because if you misbehave or you go against the argument, then you're the person who is going to be liable for this case. Then the last thing is, can bring change through renegotiation. So if you want to make a decision, it means you must have to bring now the two parties on board for you to make a decision. And that is a setback that this kind of the contracts can now have to tie hands in line with making decisions. So in brief, I could say that it is always important for each and every person to be served with a contract of employment in the place of work. Even if it is a casual, then there must be a way in which that other person is protected. Welcome to this lesson. We are going to discuss about marketing environment. So from the start we say that marketing is all about passing information by the producers or the suppliers of a product, that is the good or service, to the consumers, and therefore there should be that kind of an environment that these people should be operating. So in brief, what I can say is that environment is the surrounding or just the environment capturing or just that organization is going to work in. So the simple thing that we need to understand is that the immediate surrounding is very important to each and every organization. For you to achieve all the objectives, then you must have to focus on the surrounding within that environment of yours. In this case, we can classify the marketing environment into two, that is the internal factors and the external factors. So, internal factors are the factors that are always within the reach of an organization, or the one that an organization can always control. And the external factors are the factors coming from outside. They are not originating from the organization, but originating from outside that kind of an organization. So we can quickly start by seeing the internal factors and see exactly how these factors are going to affect the operations of an organization. So the first one is the employees. Now, employees are always the crucial assets of each and every organization. So these are the people who are always there to ensure that the common objective of an organization is achieved. And this is the first group of people that should be need to be given the utmost care if you want your own objectives to succeed. Or otherwise, the people who can still support the activities of the organization. We also have the customers. The customers you are serving, or the clients you are serving, or the users of the product that you are selling. In this case, it is another party that you can easily reach and know exactly their complaints and how you can handle their complaints. Remember, we always say that the customers are always right, or the customers are always the kings and the queens in the field of the consumption of the product that you are producing. Therefore, you must have to consider these people also. We also have the shareholders. And the shareholders are the real owners of the product that you are selling. We can classify the shareholders to be the ordinary shareholders or the preference shareholders. Ordinary are the real one, and the preferences are the people who can come and buy shares. Meaning, if you don't want these people to have your shares, you can still buy them back, or you go do what you call redemption of the shares. So it is also another crucial thing that needs to be done in an organization if you want all the objectives to be achieved. So at any time you are making decisions, you must have to include the shareholders. We also have the distribution, or just the distributors of the product. In this case, we can still call them the suppliers. So if you want your activities to be achieved, what you need to do is ensure that the suppliers are paid on time. At the same time, you are giving them the right specifications the time you are placing the orders, or else the suppliers will not supply exactly what is not seen to be clear, and therefore it is also going to derail the objectives of the organization. So this is the very basic thing that need to be started in seeing that the marketing environment is going to be successful. Apart from these internal factors, we can still see what forms the external factors of this kind of a surrounding or the environment in an organization. And the first one we can talk about political. This is basically about politics, because you can be producing a product and probably your product is doing well in the market. Then another person, maybe from the government or just from the political scene, in this case, is having some kind of an ill wishes. In this case, it can either make a product to be successful or your product to fail. And if this happens, it means the same person is also having to introduce another product. Maybe this person is going just to make some few changes in the product, then bring it to the market. We also have the legal. It is also somehow similar with political, because legal is just like now the laws of the land or just the rules are governing a given country. So it is still another thing that should be seen, that whenever you are producing a product, the product should always be the one that is legally acceptable by the government of Kenya. And it is always good for us to understand that the legality of the product is also going to make us to achieve all the objectives of an organization. We also have the social factor, and these are now the users of the product. In this case, whenever you are developing a product, whenever you are introducing a new product, ensure that you are seeing the users of the product, or else you're going to produce a product, then on the first day of introduction, it fails. What is the main reason as to why it fails? It is going to fail because you didn't capture the needs of the people who are going to use that kind of a product. We also have the other factor being technology. And with the era that we are in, the technology is changing from day to day, and therefore we must have to consider the technology that we are using if you want to remain relevant and competitive in the field of marketing or selling of the products. We must have to up our game so that we can be on the trend in the technology that is coming in, so that the competitors that don't leave you behind them go a further step. And the last thing is the economy, or just the economic factor. Now, right now we are facing a lot of challenges concerning the economy of the country in line with the pandemic, that is the COVID-19. And in this case, whenever you're producing a product, you need to produce a product in proportion to exactly what is going to be consumed by the users of the product. Remember that the economy is not doing well. That is in line with what is being produced and distributed and also consumed. And therefore, it is also good for each and every company to ensure that whenever they are producing a product, they see that the economy is doing well. Or else, right now you can talk about the economy is just at the depression side. It is not at the prosperity. And therefore, it is going to affect exactly how your business is going to work. So, comparing the two factors, that is the internal factors and the external factors, we can still call them the micro factors and the macro factors, or the controllable and uncontrollable factors. Ensure you differentiate exactly why is it very important for us to talk about the two factors.